when I wake up, before I put on my makeup.
And I worked together in casting in probably the late 70s is when we were.
Wow.
And my mother, Marcia Klein, and my mother, Pat Hess, and Marcia Kleinman. Wow. Yeah. I remember that. Oh, that's so funny. Okay. So, so anyway, so that's how
I can't
we
talk.
met
I'll call you back.
Marcia, oh, that's right. Marcia was very close to your sister Pat.
Best friend.
And that's how, and she was a commercial producer in New York, right?
So she was an account executive for advertising.
Okay, so you guys moved out to LA.
Yeah, we moved, Pat and I worked, we all worked for the same agency, Jean and me. I was a producer. I produced
Right.
commercials.
Yes.
And Pat was the AE. And Jean was whatever she wanted to do. That's Jean.
So Jean got into casting, and that's how we all met. And I remember, you don't know this, but I think when I was working at Sunset Gower, and I was casting The Facts of Life or something, and other things, and I was going to a Reichian therapist, and she suggested that I get rebirthed. So I gathered a bunch of my friends, and I had to pick a mother and a father. My father was Steve Kolzak, who also passed away, who was the head of casting at Embassy TV. And Jean was my mother.
Aww.
And
Good choice.
And I wanted to do it because I was a very premature baby. I weighed 3 pounds and 2 ounces. I was very premature. And I was in an incubator for 2 months, and I wanted to, it's weird, I was at the eye doctor today dealing with my strabismus from being in an incubator for so long. But anyway, so she was my mother, and it was a very beautiful, and I had other friends there, and it was a very beautiful experience. And I used to spend a tremendous amount of time with you guys. And I remember you had your dachshund Gussie, which is the first time that I remember a dachshund, that aside from the one that my dad had growing up. And I had one, and I continued through the years to have dachshunds. And just over the years, we just have lost touch. Were you working for Chris Carter or something? You're working at Fox. Were you working for Chris Carter at one point?
Oh, Chris Carter. I worked on the X-Files for 3 years.
Yeah, okay, because it's a long, long time. But anyway, she was an amazingly lovely, warm, wonderful, caring sort of soul. Yeah. I remember Marcia once telling me when I was crying in her office that I was too sensitive to be in the business, and somehow I have managed to overcome that. But
You're here, standing here.
And I'm a studio executive now. But I know exactly.
Well,
exactly.
you have to be a warrior.
Exactly. Sell out. But Jean never was. She was a true artist the entire time.
Yeah.
And just a beautiful, beautiful soul. So.
Absolutely.
Victoria Burrows is my business partner, and I met Jean through Victoria. I was trying to ask Victoria when exactly that happened. So my first memory of Jean is from 1996. I was living on Orange Grove between Melrose and Beverly, and Victoria was casting Walker, Texas Ranger, and in the top floor of this building that was like a carpet factory that was right around the corner from Orange Grove on Beverly, across the street from CBS. And I had worked as her associate for some television producers who had an off-lot deal with Warner Brothers Television, and that deal ended after 4.5 years, and I was deciding if I was going to continue in casting or get into production. And another Melissa Gilbert movie for ABC came up, and she got money for an associate, so she said, why don't you come and work for me? So I could literally walk around the corner and go to work, which has never happened before or since in Los Angeles, let's face it. And that's the first time I really remember Jean, because Jean was covering Walker, Texas Ranger. And I can remember her sort of unique style that she had of organization that looked very disorganized. But Victoria would say, if you look in her office and you look at her desk, it's just this mountains of uneven stacks of paper and total chaos. But if I said, Jean, where's the phone number from that person? She could walk in there and go like that. And I can remember we hired a friend of ours to be her assistant, or Victoria hired Patty Holmes, who hadn't really been in casting, to be Jean's assistant on Walker. And she literally would walk right behind Jean all over the office, writing down everything that she said. And then she said she would go home and she would cry because she couldn't follow her or understand her train of thought, which was not always linear, but maybe circular somehow, and for Jean it made sense. But for somebody who doesn't think like that, it didn't make any sense. I have to think, though, because Jean worked for Victoria on Tales from the Crypt, that when I was working for the TV producers, I must somehow have met Jean at the birthday parties that were here for years at the softball field.
Oh,
Right.
And then, but the first time I really remember being in the same space was, at that Walker, Texas Ranger days. And she truly was an angel on earth.
Yes.
There was probably not a kinder, more caring soul who was truly empathetic to all living creatures.
Yeah.
And that is truly how I will remember her. I think that everybody who ever met her will remember her for that too, is that she really had a lot of love to give, and that's what she really wanted to give to everybody.
Jean cast Tales of the Dark Side, which was the predecessor to all the Tales of this, Tales of that.
Right.
Yep. They had good parties.
Whenever I would see her, I don't know when it started, but she would say, "I wuff you."
Oh.
So I would say, "I wuff you too."
Wow. Oh, that's her.
Yeah, and that was all through the dog connection and Victoria getting into rescue and all of that.
Yeah.
So was Jean responsible for?
Jean was responsible
For
for
Victoria.
getting Victoria into dog rescue because you guys were doing
We both were.
Adopt a Chow.
We
going by there.
roped her into going to the airport because there was this woman that would bring dogs in from Taiwan
Yes.
because they're horrible out there.
Oh, God.
And there was like a whole shitload of dogs. And Victoria, I took a Shar and I took a few other things, but Victoria took Batman.
Batman,
I
the little
remember
Chihuahua,
Batman.
whose legs were kind of bent backwards, and he is blind or total cataracts, and he was
lived
very
a long
sweet though.
time,
Do you
though.
remember him?
Very
a long
well.
time. He lived
I
a
know
long
Batman
time.
so well.
Me too.
It was hard
yes,
on Batman.
but yes, that was the beginning of her,
Yeah.
into dog adoption.
And who were the dog on the roller? Remember?
That was Jean's dog.
Oh,
Teddy.
Oh,
That's so great. You
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Teddy.
Bring Teddy to the
Yes.
office.
Yes, bring Teddy to the office. Exactly.
to you, Joanne, but literally this was just a couple days before she passed to the other side. Sure, you guys can pass it around if you want. And
Before she
it
passed
was
away.
Victoria and me and
Couple of
Jean.
days
And,
Oh, I have that.
She sent it to me.
Victoria sent
Yeah,
it to
she
me.
had.
I've seen
And
it.
and we
Yes.
and Victoria was moving, and she was Victoria, I think. And then I fell in love with them, and they kind of adopted me. And then in turn, I started filming about their beautiful pet projects. And I know you don't remember, but you were in many of them. And the many things that I can say about Jean and Vic too, and actually many of you here, is that from the perspective of having been an actor for many years, it's so welcoming when someone doesn't draw a line and say, you know, hi, I'm a casting director, you're an actor, you know what I mean? And just like, we are family, we love each other, and angels recognize each other. And Jean was totally an angel, and I met her through Vic, and we just fell in love. We felt like we knew each other forever. Vic too, and it just, our hearts sang every time we saw each other, and I felt like she was such a blessing and so humble all the time, so humble, so loving. And I just remember seeing her and seeing Vic too crawl into kennels and put blankets on animals and hug them, and then even in casting, always just so embracing, just like, you know, I was adopted too. So when I saw her this last time, it was just so beautiful, and I was just explaining to Joan that at this moment, shortly after this moment, a few of us were sitting in a circle together because Victoria was packing up to leave and we were all helping. And I just said, I feel like this is a sacred moment, everyone. You know, let's just take a moment, maybe even now, and look at each other, because we don't know when we'll ever be sitting in this circle again, and whether all these beings will be here. And then a couple days later, I found out that Jean was gone. It was a shock. And I will always love her as family and friend, as an angel. I love to write about angels among us and video angels among us, and Jean is one of my most favorite angels among us. She truly is. And so thank you for letting me be here and not feel like I barged in, but I really wanted to be here. And I miss her very much, and thank you all. Thank you so much. There's so much more to say, but I don't want to hog it up. And I know she casts me in different things, and do you know, as I was saying, I don't even remember what they were. I just love Jean. That's it. So thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ben Borum, and I met Jean through my daughter Mika, who had worked with her in the past. We had a movie we were in the middle of producing, and we needed some actors, and so Mika goes, I know the perfect person. She's great. So we got together with her. She was really happy to see Mika, and she was very generous, and that's where I know Jean from. And then I had the one or two times after that, we got together. We got together for coffee one morning, and then we got together after that. She was in the process of in a house moving or helping someone move or do something, and we spent part of the day over there with her, and that was wonderful. And today we were out on a bicycle riding, and Mika goes, Dad, Jean passed away. I'm going, no way. It's impossible. She's like too young. Can't happen. And she said, yeah, and so here we are. So lovely person, and didn't get to know her very well, but what I did, she had a very beautiful aura, and was a very nice and very generous with us.
Robert Amico, ignore the black eye, long story. I know Jean since 1996. I was introduced to Jean by an old friend of mine, TJ Castronova.
Yes.
Who we're friends from New York, maybe 50 years. And then Jean cast 4 films for me as a producer. Like you, I think I worked in 2 films for her, but I can't remember what it was either. I just remember Jean said, you gotta help me out, this guy fell out. But Dark Desire was the most fun because we spent a lot of time every day at the offices casting, and I just loved the way she worked. I just loved how hard she worked, and she really, really touched my heart. And 3 weeks before she passed, she had called me up because she would check in with me like every 6 months and go, is there anything happening? Do you know anybody? You know, I want to cast something. I go, let me look around. And she passed before I was able to get back to her. But she would always check in with me about every 3 months. What a great gal. I mean, everybody knows. I don't have to say. Everybody's going to say the same thing. Her heart and her heart for the doggies. I remember she had in her contract for Dark Desire that if there was an emergency with the doggies, she would be able to go, so that's why we had Mark Tillman too to back her up. And there were a few times she had an emergency where she had to do a rescue. It's like we were in the middle of a casting,
and she had to go rescue a dog.
Yeah, and you know what's so funny about that project? It was Lifetime, And the Lifetime people are so weird as to what actors they approve.
Oh, yeah.
They completely turned down Sam Elliott, said he can't act, he's not worth anything.
Wow.
And then they approved of Michael Nouri, which I like Michael too, but it's just so weird when you're on that end. But she fought so hard for Sam too. I'm going like, you have to fight for Sam Elliott? Holy mackerel!
Wow.
And I love them both.
But,
I know them both.
When she believes an actor's right for a role, she'll fight for them. She will. And
Yeah,
I love that as an actor. Sometimes it can be annoying as a producer, but I love you, Jean, wherever you are. You have a safe trip. I know you're watching right now, honey.
So much.
That's all I can say without breaking up.
I'm a manager and I produce and direct. First, Mike Carrazza wanted to be here, but with the change of venue, it became impractical. And he wanted me to share with everyone that he loved Jean very much, and he never made any move, play, film, without her.
TJ too.
And
TJ too.
He was Tales of the Dark Side.
Turned down
Yes.
something.
He and TJ.
yeah, time will tell, but she told him, as well as me, that I would be doing the next film with him. Jean and I cast Looking Up together with Bunny, starring one of the many stars. And Jean told Mike that when the next film that I would be doing it with her, and that still may come through, and that'll be a gift from Joan if it does. So we're hoping for that. I think I met Joan at one of those acting conventions.
Jean or Joe?
Jean.
Okay.
The Jean, one of those acting conventions where actors go to be discovered, and it's a lot of fun, and they pay you money, and it's great. And you go for free to Atlanta and have fun. But while we were talking here, I was trying to think about how I met her, and I think it was lunchtime, and she just sat down next to me, and I guess kind of adopted me. And we were friends ever since, and she was always so very good to me in so many different ways. And we shared a great love of doggies. I just was stunned at how dedicated she was to helping dogs. I mean, seeing a homeless person on the street with a dog and pulling up and offering food and vet, and it's just a miracle that she dedicated her life, her finances, and sometimes her
Every
health.
cent she had before she
absolutely.
paid her rent.
Sometimes her health to be of service to doggies. And I feel comfortable saying this. There's an organization called Paws LA, PAWS LA. They were formed in the 80s to help people with AIDS with their dogs, whether it's fostering, whether it's food, whether it's vets. So in ensuing years, they now serve anybody who is in need with their pet. And they have a little building downtown, and currently they're in big financial troubles. So perhaps in Jean's name, I would encourage everybody here, I mean, send them $5. They've been around for 40 years, and they're in great need. And they help a great many people.
Send me an email.
Okay, I will. They help a great many people for a very, very, very long time, cats and dogs. So Paws LA needs us. Even if it's a humble gesture, it's going to help, because they're running real thin right now.
Join the club.
Well, that's why I said $5.
$5 is good.
But Jean is wonderful. In recent years, I've been her beauty buddy. On the journey to turn back the clock. So we've had adventures with various med spas around Los Angeles. Naturally, I didn't need anything. But,
You look quite beautiful.
thank
Yes,
you.
lovely. You're lovely.
And I went with her to one in Koreatown, and to thank me, she bought me a, I guess it was magnetism to make my stomach more smooth. But that was a.
I want that number.
But we were hysterical laughing through the whole thing. So a lot of fun. And then not long ago we had coffee and went around to a variety of places. So and that was the last time I saw her, and I definitely missed her very, very much.
Yeah.
And was grateful for her love and support.
Amen.
So.
Well, you know, Scott, when you were talking about, meeting Jeannie, I always called her Jeannie Weenie for some reason. She got Paulie. But I met her through Victoria Burrows. I had just flown into town in 1986, still as an actor, but I was curious about the casting process because I didn't know anything about it. So I went to one of those casting workshops, which I can't even mention anymore without being arrested. Right? And I met Victoria, and I said, "Gosh, do you need an intern?" And it was at Stephen Cannell Productions, and that's where I started. And Victoria was a mentor for me, and through Victoria, I met Jeannie Weenie, and she was. I'd never met anyone like her before. She was just so generous in every way. I mean, animals are one thing, but she was this way with actors. And for me, as an actor transitioning, I can't even say that anymore.
Maybe you can.
Maybe I can.
Yeah.
She was she was just an extraordinary role model in a sense. She was incredibly disorganized. I just watched her. I would come in early, and she'd be in the office.
Incredibly disorganized.
And
is that from Victoria?
No, not at all. Yeah,
that was Jean.
Jean herself.
that's
Okay,
right.
I think we were trained to be disorganized.
But
And she was very-
She knew where everything was.
Yeah.
That's the
It was
thing.
like,
Well-
it was like Joe
Different
Franklin.
level of organization.
It was a different level.
Different universe.
So they complemented each other, and I just kind of observed how both worked, and I think I tried to take the best of both. Victoria was very organized and very straightforward, and very gracious as well too. Jeannie was just all heart, and she was like a big puppy dog herself, and she would be so generous with actors. So I was able to take quite a bit from both of them, and we worked on Tales from the Crypt, and basically I was in between. And I talked to Jeannie on the phone, and she said, "Paulie, come on down. We need some help on Tales from the Crypt." So I helped Jeannie and Victoria, and then we did The Frighteners together, which was so much fun. You weren't there at that point, but and Jeannie she was just always in auditions. She was just so there for you, and I was the reader for The Frighteners, and it was Zemeckis and Michael J. Fox and over at Amblin, and I had to read with Paula Prentice. Peter Jackson, that's right. Peter Jackson was there, and Michael J. Fox, and Paula Prentice came in to read, and I had to read with her. Well, Paula Prentice is a method actress, so she really went for it, and she ended up making out with me and sticking her tongue down my throat during the audition. And everyone was just, and of course, but Jeannie was like it was almost like, "Oh, acting, this is great." This is it. And everyone else was giggling, and Jeannie was.
Did you get the part?
I think I still have Paula's tongue down my throat. But she also, there are just a few people in your careers all of us can say that we're mentors, and also without them, you're not sure where you would have been. And that's why I was always in my heart had a place for Jean, because she at one point, she said, Mary Jo Slater is looking for someone at MGM.
Wow.
And I was working with them, and she said, let me give her a call. She called Mary Jo. Within a day or two, I had a meeting with Mary Jo Slater, and it was about a half-hour meeting.
Oh, wow.
that was it. And the next thing you know, 16 years later, I was still there.
Wow.
Because of how Jeannie made that introduction to someone I never met before ever in my life, based on her recommendation and Victoria's. And I think without that, I don't know, I would have been working for Denise Chamey. Probably not the worst thing in the world. Right. But it was that or that, and I thought, you know what, Jeannie was just so gracious, and then she came to work with us, and she brought Teddy, and she was just a whirlwind, and she was just crazy. Sometimes I said, Jeannie, you just work so hard. You're here before everyone else. You stay later than anyone else. She's on the floor going through headshots. She's going for, she may not be detailed, but she knew what she wanted, and she just put it all together and would work her butt off. So work ethic, all heart, and one of the sweetest, most generous human beings I've ever met. And I regret only one thing, that we sort of didn't grow apart. We just didn't communicate quite as much anymore. And we sort of grew apart. I grew in my career, she grew in hers. We didn't really connect all that much, except I think maybe when Victoria had something here occasionally. Birthday parties. And then it was just so great to see her. Never a cruel word, never an argument. She would disagree in the most lovely way somehow, mostly with producers only because she felt so strongly. But to me, she was so kind, and I've never seen her be unkind to anyone in my life. And you can't say that about many
That's
people.
true. That's
right?
true.
So, Jeannie, wherever you are, I miss you.
Maybe I'm imagining, but I feel like she's here.
So
Stays in the park. Okay? For everybody. You can say anything. Okay.
Unless it's on camera.
And Meg, you know Jeannie the longest other than her dear sister, but Jeannie knew me the longest because I did a casting workshop with a casting director who was Jeannie, and she's looking at me and she said, "Oh, you're Bunny Gibson? You went to American Bandstand. Oh my God, I used to watch you." Right? And so from that point, we started jitterbugging together, and like we haven't stopped. It's like that was our huge connection from teenage years. And this is Jeannie's bunny necklace. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes, I was looking at it.
And she was dear to me. We would go to Bible study together, and we would go from the west side all the way up to the valley. Jerry Pace had a Bible study in the office, and sometimes it would take us, because we had to be there at 7, like 2 hours to go. And it mattered not. We did it because we loved God, and she loved to read the Bible. She really did, and we would all take turns. And when we came back, we were all like, there was a light about us, and it seemed like the ride back was so easy, and we were always grateful that we went. Now, we shared some other things like IMDb, because she spent all her money on doggies. Yes. So we shared that together, and then when I get new pictures, there was nobody better than Jeannie in picking out exactly the one. Boom, 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 that one, do that one. And my American Bandstand script, as a teenager, I wanted Jeannie to cast it, and it's taken me 1,005 years to get it. I'm pitching it, but it's going to get done, and and she'll be overlooking it.
She will be casting executive.
Yes, she will. Yes,
This
she
is
will.
This is a
Well,
movie about.
I wrote the screenplay, and eventually I said, "You're going to be the casting director," and she read it, and she was excited. I guess we would have had at the end a little piece where we jitterbug together. She was a good dancer,
Wow.
Yes, she was. And just a sweetheart. We never ever had a fight. The only problem we had was when she would sit in the passenger seat and I was driving. I said, "Jeannie," I said, "would you like to get in the back?" I said, this is good. I said, like, I'll be your Uber driver, and this will go better, and it's a safer seat, right?
Wow.
So, but she said, oh, I don't feel right back here. It's okay, Jeannie. And then we went the rest of the hour and 50 minutes.
But she gave you good advice on your driving.
Yeah, probably. And when we went, our Bible study group actually had planned to go to Jerusalem, and we went on the trip to the Ronald Reagan Museum there. We had just a lovely time, and you could see it's almost like she's telling us, yeah, I'm off to heaven. And that picture of her with her ashes like illuminated by the sun, that was extraordinary. That does mean that God was watching over her. And then when we went to Price is Right, she wanted to go. And I dressed up like Bandstand, and they said, well, I told them my story, and then they said, well, tell us yours. And she said she was a casting director. And I said, Jeannie, don't say that. So we went in, we watched the show, but we were not picked. You know, but love her dearly, the heart, the caring, the memories. I'll miss her forever.
God bless.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I met Jeannie when I worked with her on this project, Dark Desire, and I remember like particularly like there was one day, like we did the table read and we had all those things, and she was around, and I took notice of her right away because she had a look to her. She had a look. She was bubbly and effervescent, and she had the hair, and she had a look, you know? So I'm like, who is that? She's cool. She's got some energy going. And, but there was one day that we were like filming out in, was that Woodland Hills? We were filming out there. You were out there too. But we were filming out there, and somehow she and I ended up in this upstairs bedroom, and we just chatted for a long time. And she was super cool, and she told me, hey, like, here's my number. Anything that you want to know about or whatever, go ahead and call me. And so, because I at that time was thinking about putting together some projects myself later on, and so she was like, yeah, any questions about casting, any of that kind of stuff, like get in touch. And so later on, when I did start putting together more projects and putting things together, she was like a hotline. And she was super generous, like super awesome. I'd call her and ask her about anything. She would go and she'd have coffee with me. She went with my dad and I to like sit down and powwow about stuff, which was great. And so yeah, she gave me all kinds of advice on casting projects, and like there was stuff that I wanted to put together to start doing pitches, and I'm just bummed that there's like not more projects to go ahead and, you know, that she's not around to cast a project with in the future, because that would have been really awesome. But yeah, so and then there was one time too that was pretty fun where she had a dog that she was looking to find a home. And it was funny because I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can help you. And so I didn't realize how much like thought and care and passion went into her picking where the dogs go.
Oh,
yeah. And so, I understood
Yeah.
like the overall concept, but I didn't understand how specific she was. And so it was fun because I was like sitting there and she was like, well, and I can't remember what the questions were, but they was like so precise, and there was about 30 different things that like
Easier
were
to
the
adopt
requirements.
a child.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Do home
so
checks if you want to get a dog, or any place rescue will say they want to come and check out your surroundings.
adopting
it was
child.
awesome. Yeah, she was like so passionate about making sure that they were going to the right people, and that I remember I do remember the one thing on it was that like too, she wanted to make sure that the person had enough like energy to give the dog attention and walk him and like all that stuff. They were gonna get out there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she was awesome, just bubbly and effervescent.
I'm Valerie McCaffrey, and primarily I've been casting for a very long time, and I met her through Mary Jo Slater, and we would be when I first met her, I thought, my God, she's like, there was no negative going on in her. There was this purity, and she had this, just this sense of love that would come out when you would speak with her. And then I would meet her, I would see her at many different events, and you know, it would always be the same way. She was always very consistent in who she was and how she, you know, came across, and always so kind, and it was effortless for her to be like that. It wasn't like she was trying to be anything that she wasn't. She was a completely, yeah, she was,
She was the antithesis of that.
yeah. And so I don't have the casting connection that you guys all have, but I certainly have the personal connection. And I think she's hired a couple of my clients too, so that was kind of cool. She's just a rare person, a just rare individual who really basically touches the heart of everyone she meets. And so that's why I'm here, is because she was so kind, and she deserves this, you know, circle of love.
So true.
Jean Scoccimarro, I met because I starred in this movie called Allie and Me, and somehow I knew her from Joe Bologna and Renee Taylor, because I'd been on a TV series that she cast me in, Lovers and Other Strangers. And I met Jean because Joe Bologna loved Jean Scoccimarro. So did Renee, but Joe Bologna was like, Renee. Well, that too, but Jeannie. And I met her, and I, you know, like everybody says, I fell in love with her. And I said, would you want to cast my movie? And actually, a guy named Harold Pruitt was in the movie, and then he didn't stay in the movie because he had a problem. Beautiful boy. And she brought on James Wilder. And James Wilder in this movie was so freaking brilliant. And I said, where did you think of this guy? Because it's a sociopath who's a sex pot. And she brought this guy in, and he was so brilliant, so incredibly brilliant in the movie.
Is that his true story?
Yes.
As a real person?
Yes.
Yeah.
So she was brilliant in what she did. She orchestrated the movie, and the movie was like so much fun. I grew very close with her. I called her Jeannie Bikini. That was what I called her. I said, Jeannie Bikini, it's JoJo. And I really totally fell in love with her. She had a loyalty. Like anytime she did a movie, she'd call up and say, I'd like you to be in the movie. And I'd be like, this is my best friend. And I'd be like, for 35 years. And I'd be like, Jeannie. One time she called someone who represented me, and they didn't get the message, and she said, I want you to be the lead in this movie. She always stood by who she believed in, loved, and was friends with. She had my back continually. I always tried to bring her in on anything that I knew that there was a producer or a director. I always recommended her. I always introduced her. One time in Mary Jo Slater's office, I mean, as an actor, I'm shy around casting people because I always feel like maybe they shouldn't know you too well. You shouldn't get like too friendly. They're gonna think you're a pest. Then they're gonna say bad things about you. Why don't you stay away from them? Unfortunately, with Meg, I couldn't stay away from her. She's like my family, but I try to stay away from casting people.
Some of us are real, nice, real people.
But actors are a pressure because all of us want jobs.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you don't even have to say something if you're on the phone with a casting director, and they can always feel like, woo! So I just find it easier not to know them that well. Of course, Valerie's producing a movie I'm starring in, so I guess I'm just saying that. But I try. So Jeannie asked me to go up to Mary Jo's office, and I thought it was really exciting. Oh my God, she's asking me after hours in her office. You know, this is so thrilling. And she has a guy come in who starred in the movie about the Temptations. He passed away. I always remembered. And she said, Jojo, sit here while I interview him. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like an actor watching another actor. And then she said, Joanne, do you have questions for him? I was like, oh my God. I was like, and then he got the job, and he says to me, you know, thank you. Thank you so much. Like I was involved in it.
Yeah.
And I sent Patty Mann, this woman who works with Warren Littlefield, and she rescued maybe 2 weeks before she passed. She rescued this dog that was being beaten and abused for Patty Mann. And she went totally out of her way. And she brought him to Gary, the vet that she always goes to. And she took all of her time to do this. And for a person who is so exceptional. And I'm just so grateful to be here with all of you. And thank you for listening to me. And I'm going to read Lisa Mione, if that's okay. This is from Lisa Mione. Due to dog issues, I never had planned surgery due to switch of vets at my, these are all in capitals, former vet's office. I guess she didn't like him. He had surgery today at a new surgeon's vet office. I know Jean would understand, however, I feel truly sad about this. Jean's generosity and kindness was remarkable. I hear her laugh in my head. I'm so sorry she left us, but grateful she slipped away without pain, suffering, or hospitalization. I imagine Jean is surrounded by all of the little ones and not so little ones she helped to save. That is my hope and belief. Sweet dreams, Jean. I'll listen for your laugh and follow it when I take my leave. Your Miss Jean. That's from Lisa Mione.
Beautiful.
Amen.
And Victoria has said, sending my best and love to all of you who are attending tonight.
But while riding, I think of us days. I say a little prayer for you. And at work, I just take time. And all through my coffee break time, I say a little prayer for you. Forever and ever, you stay in my heart, and I will love you forever and ever. The part of how I love you together. That's how it must be to live without you. Would only mean heartbreak for me. Nobody but me. Forever and ever, you stay in my heart, and I will love you forever and ever. We never were part of how I love you together. That's how it must be to live without you. Would only mean heartbreak for me. My darling, believe me. For me there is no one but you. Please love me too. I'm in love with you. Answer my prayer. Answer my prayer, baby. Answer my prayer. Say you love me too. Answer my prayer. Answer my prayer, baby. Answer my prayer. And forever and ever, you stay in my heart. I will love you forever and ever. We never were part of how I love you together. That's how it must be to live without you. Would only be heartbreak for me. Oh, nobody but me. My darling, believe me. For me there is no one but you. Please love me too. This is my prayer. Answer my prayer now, baby. This is my prayer. Answer it right now, baby. Say you love me too. Answer my prayer.
Why don't we say a toast? Let's do the toast.
Okay.
Say a little prayer for you. The moment I wake up, before I put on my makeup, I say a little prayer for you. And while I'm combing my hair now, and wondering what dress to wear now, I say a little prayer for you. Forever and forever, you'll stay in my heart, and I will love you forever and ever. We never were part of how I love you together. That's how it must be to live without you. Would only mean heartbreak for me. I run for the bus stand, but while riding I think of us days. I say a little prayer for you. And at work I just take time, and all through my coffee break time, I say a little prayer for you. heartbreak for me. Nobody but me. Forever and ever, you stay in my heart, and I will love you forever and ever. We never will part. Oh, how I love you together, together. That's how it must be to live without you. Would only be heartbreak for me.